Alright, welcome back to another Play and Explain. We have a 1K going now in this video. Should be playing both. There's the 1K opened up. The reason I'm not on stars right now is the stars is laggy. Lags when I record. There we go. It's a continuation of the last one where I was raging out of my mind because I hero called the guy. Or not hero called, I just called the guy. Since then, I got a stack. I stopped recording for a second. I won this all in. So I'm cured. Mental cured. On to the next session. But yeah. All three of these videos should be on the same day and the same session. Or I just feel like recording. If I'm going to be able to post every day, I'm going to have to record a lot of sessions in one day. In the one session, but I think it's a better way to do it. And then I could study all my hands, review it all for you guys. And upload them, as opposed to just doing it each day. Because in order to get all these videos out, it's kind of stressful to do it in one day. So I think this is the plan. Some authentic content. Gonna be wrong about a lot of things because I'm just recording it all at once and I'm just picking like all the videos in order. So my last video, obviously, not the greatest showing of me, but not the worst, I guess. Maybe I'll rewatch and cringe though. We'll see. Right now it's 1:57 my time. Let's see if one of these games open up. I'm gonna put you guys on game here. Just gonna move my screen down here so I can see if the lobby's open. Pretty budget, pretty bootleg way of doing it, but for some reason it works better than me than having the lobby over here. I feel like I just notice it, especially if you have like the screen like this. You can usually see if this guy's stack's moving or something. Or if the number just goes to 2. Alright, playing deep stack with a lot of these players though. Should be interesting for the video. Bluffing on the same hand versus guy on 2 blind versus blind spots. Come on. One of these spots I'm making a bunch. Okay, so this guy 4-bet bluffed me, and I'm gonna punish him. Double punish. Once he 3-bets me, folds, 4-bets. I'm just too aggressive. Whenever he goes, I'm thinking I just got dealt ace king. And that's lucky, but no. That was pure skill, exploitation. Guy tried to fuck with me. Top-notch poker right there. Okay, I think here when you 4-bet this 3-bet this, you call it a good amount. Double bad suit, gonna be checking back the most. I mean, there's some logic. If the board is a bit drier, I think you could maybe value bet a hand like this, but I think that's more of a concept with ace king than it is with ace queen, because the logic is you get called by worse ace highs more often when you have bad suits. Now the issue with this hand is it's like really hard to hit a pair that's not a flush draw. So I'm just gonna be folding for that reason. Like even when you improve, like there's only one. Like I can only hit the ace of clubs and I can only hit the queen of hearts to actually make a decent hand here. So I'm just calling to bluff river, and I have enough hands. You'd probably range bet this board for a third. But so in theory, I don't mind you guys range betting the spot. I have a people tend to overdefend these pocket pairs though, especially 5s. So 7s, you're calling pretty often, so it's pretty hard to overdefend. 5s, people will overdefend these spot. And then some people under 4-bet jacks. I'm not saying this guy is. It probably was a good spot for me to bet actually. Now that I think about it, it's not a spot where I'm building a big enough checking range to be checking pretty often. I probably could simplify the range bet. I'll probably review it though and put it on the screen for you guys. what the flop strategy looks like. But checking back a hand like this cannot be losing that much money. The issue is if I'm just not checking back enough value, I kind of get into a dicey spot here. And I think that's probably the exploit. It's like, if I had put jack, I might just 1/3 range. So I need to be more aware of that if I'm going to actually check on that board. Because then I'm going to be getting exploited pretty easily. Generally, these jack high boards for the in position player, just you usually have a lot more hands. Like I'm gonna have more ace jack off than he is. I'm gonna have 16 combos of ace jack. I'm gonna have more pocket jacks. I'm gonna be opening tier. Here when your opponent has 2 sets, you're just gonna be checking very high frequency. He checks twice. Also a pretty high. I'm gonna check again and then bluff river. Hopefully we get a good card like this one. The issue is I think he's gonna have a lot of ace-x when I bet though. That's still gonna be a card I'm obviously bluffing on. And the 1k gonna be 3-betting the queen. Super deep here. I don't mind. Probably going 1/3. And this is going to be just a half pot, really high frequency for me. So yeah, this should be the 3rd video. If I post 3 days in a row, it should be all these videos. Just trying to get it all in once. If my mental sounds off and stuff, I mean, it's true. I'm not the perfect mental player. Here you can probably go smaller, to be honest. Just because, like, yeah. I mean, this guy has to worry about this guy. It's same thing when this guy calls. This guy has to worry about this guy. It's... Huh. You choose when he calls, he has a lot of... I feel like there's just no benefit in betting here because you're just gonna have a lot of 9x, right? When he calls? I mean, he took a minute to call. But... Okay, we have the nuts now. I mean, a kind of decent play here with them when you have I think I'm just gonna call this because I don't think people call you. I would raise jacks, queens, kings here, but there's probably bet turn. The issue is if he has an ace here, I think I could see him playing like the blocker strategy, so I don't know. Oh, that's wrong. Checking this board on a pretty high frequency on this card because he overcomes, and I'm gonna probably raise pretty aggressively here. We'll see on the number I roll. I obviously block 10-8. He's really capped. He never has anything like that. I rolled really high, so on a non-spade, I'm just gonna go all in. I think if I had 10-8, I would want to play it this way. It's the easiest way to get all the money in. So, in general, if your opponents are over c-betting, there's really no reason for you to have a leading range. Your opponent has to make you indifferent by checking back a good amount often here. So he has to have a queen and still check it. He has to not over-bluff the card. And I'd say in general, when you check twice and an overcard comes, people tend to over-bluff. So it's pretty easy to simplify to start almost a range checking the spot. I could be yapping, but we'll see. Just because it's really hard to defend versus the check range if you check raise range if you actually just have a lot of value in the spot. Because then your opponent's kind of just stuck to like bluff catching like one pair all the time. And they're also going to be overfolding naturally because they have a lot of bluffs. So you're just making more money. Like let's say if I bet this spot, he never bluffs into me. Then I make less money. Right? But if he's pure bluffing into me, you know. It only makes sense when your opponent starts checking back a good amount, which they're supposed to make you indifferent between betting or checking. But if they're constantly reopening the action, you're basically playing in position, right? On the turn, which means you might as well see what they do. Just gonna fold here, a6 never getting in there. And I will say, in my opinion, I actually like the small bet on this type of texture because I think it's actually does its job making a lot of these hands indifferent, and then you can go polar on the river, and it becomes less attractive for your opponent to check raise you. Maybe on that board it's rainbow, it's a little different though. But Damn, what a fish play. I should 3-bet it. I would have had a flush draw. Oof. Let's see, there's no 500s, there's no extra 1Ks either. I'm recording for 10 minutes? Damn, time flies. Oh, would have missed. That's why you gotta fold these hands pre-flop, because you're just not gonna hit a flush draw with them. If I had ace-5 suited, I would have hit. It's a pro tip. $99, it's tempting, but I think it's a pure fold. 200 big blinds deep. Gonna fuck around a little more, I think. Oof. You just know it's coming though, right? We just know. I want this guy to call so I can just prove my hypothesis. We don't get to see 2 more cards, unfortunately. It was coming, though. On a 62, this deep. I don't even know the size you go this deep. Probably this. Everyone is 200 blinds deep. If he 5-bets here, I'm just gonna fold, I think. I mean, my hand's okay. Because I think people are less likely to 5-bet ace-king. Just exploitatively. I'm going with that read. Is it true? I don't know. This is not a great board for me. I'm gonna check this one back at a high frequency. 82. I think I'm checking this. We just blocked so many folds, right? Like queen, jack, queen, 10, king, jack. With clubs. Gonna check. It's also like super deep. I'm going to want to trap some of these overpairs, right? Not trap, like I'm just gonna like nice hand. Obviously gonna be defending that pretty aggressively. Because he doesn't have too much 3x, and obviously he could easily just run us over by he's probably even over bluffing this flop, but this hand's just too trash, you know what I mean? I would check this board back pretty aggressively because I think people deeper are more willing to get crazier by 3-betting. Because he's 3-bet a guy who's also 200 bigs deep. He could have 6s and 5s here. 6-5 suited for sure. People like to do it with these types of hands. Not to mention the amount of suited hands he's going to have. And like the connectors that are going to come off. Like when a 9 comes off, he has 8-7. When a 7 comes off, he has 9-8. So checking back these types of hands, like keeping the pot good till you see the full run out deep stack in position is one of the advantages. Obviously would be betting enough there, but alright, we can get the third table going. Oof. Okay, so we're supposed to have less 10x. I'm gonna go with the B75 here. A lot of our hands that bluff still want to bluff. And we still want to bet to target his queen x. It's a good card for him. He should be leading, I'd say, more often than not. Practice, he doesn't have a 10 too much. So I kind of want to pick a size where it'll say he has a hand like king jack that he just flatted. He's more likely to turn into a bluff. It'd be a lot easier if people just started leading this card into me. Because it's a great card for them. But people just don't do it enough. It's actually the people who do it tend to just have it when they do it, funny enough. Gonna go with 130 here, check back turn, and probably jam river. We'll see the run out though. On an 11, just gonna flap this one. I like big better check from my opponent. You can play a bit of a small size, but versus small size, I'll probably continue just because of he checks. Gonna be checking back this one, no spade. It's a perfect hand to turn into a bluff now, I think. The issue is the one we bluff this hand, we have to bluff river too. He has probably more flush draws than I do when he checks. I'm just gonna fold. The issue is I think he has a lot of one spade hands, and the issue with these one spade hands is they follow through at a good amount. And I'm kind of resorting to just a bluffing river. So basically, by calling here, my strategy is to either hit an offsuit 3, in which case I beat the non-trap flush draws, so I can't even go that thin for value. Obviously, like the ace-x is probably pretty good for me. And then I hope when the river breaks out, he just calls and I can bluff him, which to be honest might come close to making money, but there's just better hands to do this with. I'm going to be checking this flop back pretty nitty. Definitely going to have flush draws when I check. Definitely going to have hands with a spade when I check. The issue is just because your opponent's bluffing, this is a good thing. Just because you think your opponent might be overdoing in a spot doesn't mean you always have to punish. Because let's say, this is a good example. Like, okay, so let's say I think my opponent's out of line here, and I call him down with this hand. I do something crazy, right? With this hand. Then he's going to know, like, oh shit, this guy thinks I'm full of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because he just called me with this, you know? And then he's gonna adjust his game. Whereas if I just call him with like, okay, like some slightly loose stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not gonna realize that I have an exploit on him in this line. I'm not saying I do in this line, but it's lines where you for sure know you exploit your opponent. It doesn't mean you always have to go crazy to the point where you're almost making a 0 EV exploit. Like if you know luck everything and you're still making one big blind, you probably should just not bother. Because all it takes is for him to change one little thing and then you're just punting out of your mind, right? Can do both here. I imagine with the 9 of spades we're going to be betting this one pretty aggressively. I don't mind to overbet, but the thing is I probably bet a 5x here. Oh, versus a fish. Too many tables, man. I was just in the spot again and I wanted to bet this time. Gonna be checking here and losing. Or like the more cards that come out, the more his ace-x is worse, and he probably checks calls a lot of ace-x. If he checks here, I'm just gonna go for it, because I'm in. It doesn't have to work that often, and he imagine he has just an ace a good amount of time. Check back here. When we have the heart, we'll probably bet. Also versus the fish. Just gonna raise him. Because he sized down. If he bet big, I would just not. Because he's probably gonna be jamming over me too often. Oof. This is the issue. I imagine my hand wants to call here. There's gonna be a queen on the river, so I'm just gonna call. Oh, it's just kind of costing myself money here. Huh? I mean, I'm obviously all in. Kind of sucks because I feel like he's just outplaying me, but. We just got so outplayed by this guy. He's just too good. The turn's probably close. I should probably fold, but the thing is I just know this fish. Damn, we have a lot of spots going on. I feel like I've not been playing that good today in this video. I'm really mad about this one. Oh, that sucks. Gotta check this one back. Hopefully this guy just has 8s or some shit. 6-5 and you just... Okay. The thing about this one is the only reason I call is because I don't think he has like flush draws enough and stuff. Like if he does, it's probably a fold because like it's gonna be a queen of spades or a queen of hearts at a good amount of the time. But the thing is I just think he has like a set. The issue is on a 7, we don't always get paid. I should probably fold. Easy value here. He's gonna worse queen X. Yeah, so then by the time he checks river, I'm just so confused. But I feel like our hand's just too weak to check. He kind of just outplayed us. The bluff only has to work half the time. Just annoying. I would give up some ace highs. But. This guy leads into us, gonna call. The only reason I open this hand is because this guy's a big fish. Jeez. Yeah, I feel like I whaled out by betting turn. The half pot size really got me, but most fish will pot more for value. Yeah. Definitely frustrating. I feel like I've just punted a lot of money in these last 2 videos, but recording 20 minutes. Probably record for 10 more and then end the video. 3 videos all back to back to back. I wouldn't say I played too well in the last 2. My first session of the day. Sometimes when I'm talking, I play a little bit worse. I like leading the spot, but the issue is I don't know the leading range perfectly. You can't lead range or anything crazy. So like, but I will say when they do bet into you though, we're gonna be pretty good. Blocking ace queen of spades and stuff is okay. This one's probably an okay call because you actually kind of want to keep in the worst. Actually, I wouldn't mind calling this one. The logic being, it's okay to keep in some of these worse 7/8 of spades that he might be betting and stuff like this. When the spade comes off, we're not going to check this one. If this guy just open jams aces, he's going pro. Well, not open jam, but he wants it once. And this guy's got the world right now. It's so sick. This guy's just owning me in this video. And here it's probably close. Not having a heart. Oh my god, I got bailed out. I think I'm gonna go for it. Blocking queen jack of spades is actually pretty relevant. It's probably a hand you might call. Could be overdoing this one, but get the fold. The thing about this spot is we're gonna have a lot of bluffs on the turn. And what a lot of people do, including me, is it's really easy to give up river. And if you're over giving up river, it's just so easy to play against. Your opponent just never folds an ace, and then he just folds river, right? So you're gonna have the balls to fire, especially on this board, because most people aren't gonna fold an ace on the turn, unless they think you're a super net. Okay, on to the first review. Might be the only review for the session. Because I'm 20 minutes into the video right now, and I'm gonna record this. Is gonna be the queen 5 suited hand. Alright, I bluffed the river for stacks because we're learning about like hands we want to turn to bluffs here. Alright, here I'm gonna put on the description what a leading range looks like on this texture. We were playing a 125er lead range apparently when I node locked the sim. You see in a lot of the default wizard sims it likes the small lead range, but when you change to the new ruse sim or like the partnership, it actually likes some of these overbets, which makes sense given the types of range you're gonna be making an ace-x indifferent. Anyway. So yeah, and versus that, your opponent is going to be versus a leading range. Naturally, your opponent's checking range is going to be weaker, meaning you're going to be betting more. But here, for the sake of the sim, I'm just going to no knock leads. I was not playing that strategy, so I expect people to play. This is kind of incorrect. I think people are going to be betting at a higher frequency. I think for this video, I'll show you what to do versus an opponent who might be range betting this board, because you guys are for sure going to in your pools be playing against these range betting players and knowing how to attack them. And then, yeah, for this, we'll just run the default sim as is. And when we get to the end of that, I'll show you guys the adjustment for the range betting. I'll put up the right now also the what this strategy looks like if your opponent also is playing leads for the sake of video. Anyway, so he bets 1/3. We go with the raise here. Our hand's basically never doing it. I think the reason is you're less likely to get after these ace-x types hands. How do I say this? You're less likely to attack these ace-x boards with the backdoor flush draws when the ace isn't, because you look here, all these ace-x of spades hands is going to be continuing versus us that we're just crushed by, which is just less optimal. I'll show you what we'd be doing here if, for example, the ace was a spade, and the other two were hearts, and we'll be checking how much more often you're raising that backdoor flush draw. Excuse me. All right, so anyway, on turn here, apparently this card is just really bad for you in general. Just due to the nature, even though you have a huge straight advantage, a set advantage, I guess it's just due to the amount of like king x of heart hands that he has in his range, and that also you have, so you want to be defending, because that's going to be your most common raising range on the flop here is going to be these nut flush draw hands. I guess that's the reason behind it. Anyway, if you look here, we'll go to range full height, just to see. Our hand would be a pure overbet when we hit the spade, and he calls, obviously, in game, playing some jams in position here, which makes sense. And then on the river, when we set up for this jam, you prefer queen 5 of hearts here and stuff like this. And the reason being, mainly, is your opponent's supposed to be folding hands like queen jack of spades. I'm on range full height, but if you look at normalized, obviously basically has none. And it makes sense because Your opponent's not even supposed to have that many queen of hearts folds. So I guess by the river you don't block too much of the folding range. But if you look here, in general, you'll see one thing is the opponent's supposed to be actually giving up a lot of this a6 on the turn. And I think in practice, what's going to happen is people are not going to be folding these types of hands. And on the river, you could still get bluff caught by a hand with the queen. So I think it's actually not the worst blocker in the world to have. Also, people are a little sticky on the flop. He might, and if he calls queen jack suited on the flop, queen jack of spades, he's going to call it on the turn. So it's not the worst blocker as well. If you look at the EV, let's look at the EV we're losing by bluffing this hand. 0.6 bigs, which is fine, because in reality, I mean, hard enough to find bluffs as is in this line. I do prefer the queen five of hearts. It does make sense. Just naturally going to have less queen jack, but I didn't mind the queen five of spades for those reasons. Naturally, your opponent's going to have more hearts than spades, so yeah. Anyway, moving on to the second part of this hand, where I'll show you what to do when your opponent is actually just range betting this flop, and then we'll review that. All right, on to the range bet spot. As you see, no leading range here, and the opponent's range betting, so it doesn't matter. Let me get this right. So you see now you're just raising super aggressively. This is what I mean. When you know your opponent's range betting, you're almost raising as much as you're calling. Okay, not almost as much, but close to that amount. A lot of your continues are going to be raises here, as you can see. Just mainly attacking the fact that your opponent's going to have to be folding an insane amount. A lot of your hands become not that profitable as calls. You're just really attacking that raising range of your opponent in general on this type of texture. I mean, obviously there's milling pocket pairs prefer to call and stuff like this, but yeah. Anyway, on to the turn. If you see, oh wait, focusing on our hand, still not doing it too much. I think it's the same logic of the ace not being a spin. Anyway, we move on to the turn here, and you see for that same reason, I think it prefers checking. Not to mention, just in general though, in a spot where you're building an insane amount of checks, it's going to be way less appealing to bluffs. So it's not your second best bluff candidates like this, because we're building such a strong checking range. It's going to mainly be how do I say this? Is going to mainly be checking. I'm sure if we were to node lock this, set strategy, let's go to 100% overbet, and let's go get way more aggressive with our value. That's not a value hand. Let's just do whatever it was before. So, oh, 0. Let's just 50% check, 50% 125. That seems fair. And let's do like 100% value again. What's another value combo? 5-4 and 5-4 off. Okay, so right now we're just value betting more often, which is how most people are going to want to play on the spot, I imagine. As you can see now, queen five spades. So you're going to need to bluff more because we increase the amount of times we're value betting, and this hand is a pretty good candidate to do so. I don't kind of know, like, but I'm sure if you guys raise here, a king comes off, and you have threes, realistically, you're not going to want to check jam as often. I don't know, maybe you do, but I'm just showing you guys how you'd probably want to play. And then here, obviously jamming in position when he doesn't have the whatever. We'll go with the call here, and then by the time you get to the river now, due to the natural amount of hands your opponent's going to have, some of his better bluff catchers, I think, are going to be hands like ace-5 of spades and ace-queen of spades, which makes, I'm sure, queen-5 of spades a much more attractive bluff, right? And I would say this is more realistic. I mean, granted, I didn't no lock a lot of guys. You saw the no locks I do, so let me know if you guys think if there's anything wrong with the way I'm operating here. But people tend to understand that you're going to be raising pretty aggressively on this board because they know they're over c-betting, so then they're going to be over defending. It's kind of this like game. But then by the river, they kind of tend to believe you, I think, most of the time here. And I think just finding these types of bluffs is pretty good with the queen 5 suited. Yeah. Giving up a lot of these, stuff like this. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and back onto the video. Can't believe I got bailed out on that spot. I mean, it's pretty good on the flop. He was pretty good on the turn. And I was pretty happy about it on the river, even though I was kind of ahead. Just going to be calling this one. Don't need to turn this hand into a bluff. Not from these positions. You have other hands. He's wide enough that this hand is just too strong to risk getting jammed off. And the 1K are going to be bumping up the kings. Oh, 22. Can do either here. I'd say in general, people just don't like check raising these types of boards. I'm going to go with this size. I don't mind it. You can probably go to third. But, yeah. What a swap for this guy to jam, though. Probably gonna check back now. Double block, good suit. I guess we can just check jam. This spot I'm gonna be all in. Obviously worried about this turn card. So much of this guy's cold calling range probably hits this board, but hopefully he just has a hand like queens. I probably should have bet flop. I was just thinking he was going to bet these hands that I could check jam. You never know what the fish here has. He has the blocker out reg tag, so this guy's pretty crazy. But he's been knitting it up recently. But this like insane tank is messing with me a bit. Kind of sucks because the run out's always like pretty trash for you in this spot. Yeah, I don't know how many cards I'm really that happy about outside like a deuce or a 3. Even then they could have get a deuce or a 3. Here's the fold. Like for example, this card, it's like probably would jam because I don't really think he's an 8 to be honest. But this hand's supposed to call. On a 72 we will, because this guy has been forwarding pretty aggressively. This is a spot where 10%'s okay, I think. He finds it, and first that we're gonna have to raise a good amount. So we're gonna go 10%. We're gonna raise it. He's gonna have ace jack off here if he's 4-betting properly. And sometimes you make more money by just playing ace queen aggressively into that. The issue is you have to find the bluffs, and it's pretty easy. It's not super easy, but I think it's going to be from some of these lower pocket pairs that have good blocking properties and stuff like this. If I had to guess. You're going to be checking a lot on the turn though. So I bet he just calls. I'll go with the overbet now. I have a lot of equity, so I don't mind just building the pots. Even though he calls the same amount, it probably just makes a river shove easier. Gonna be giving up though. At a high rate. The fact that he snap calls, when a fish snap calls you in a spot like this, it's just never like that strong of a hand because they would think about raising a better hand, for the most part. So yeah, this video definitely didn't play perfect. Maybe you guys can watch me make some mistakes in the last 2 videos. I'm just gonna record 3 for the next 3 videos, and I'm gonna be taking a break to edit them, and then yeah, be back. I mean, you guys won't notice that I'm taking a break, but yeah. Hopefully the videos are good. I'm gonna have to rewatch them. I know the other one I was pretty tilted towards the end of the video, but maybe it's just good content. Show some humility. I mean, I'm definitely not perfect, especially yet. Well, a lot. I feel like I can get a lot better in a decent period of time. Versus the 4-bet here, this hand is just too bad. It's just super deep still. Not gonna bother. Gonna ISO the fish here with 5s. It's good enough. On the button. Been recording for 28 minutes. Play a couple more interesting hands here. 1/3 or check. I'll just go 1/3 in position. I don't mind it. Out of position, I'd probably prefer the check. Just because in position, if he calls a hand, like some of these weirder hands, you're less likely to get bluffed off your hand, right? I can actually get called by worse and actually realize it. Out of position, if they call you with verse, most of the time they'll turn those hands into bluffs by the river. Given that they're going to see you check twice, whereas there they'd only see you check once. I don't explain basic poker, but yeah. Versus the fish, I'll check the middling hand. 75, why not? I'm about to end this video. It's a little more than this, but we got a fish here. Probably the worst spot, probably the least justifiable spot to change your opening range when he's in the MP. Still. This hand probably wants to bet, I imagine. I mean, it's like probably close because like your opponent's actually gonna call you better a lot because he's gonna have 3s and 4s pure. But for that reason, like he's gonna have 3x, 4x going. Here I'm gonna call. We have 2 outs to the Giga Nuts. I mean, your opponent should have Jack 5 suited, but it's a rainbow board, so he only has 1 combo. Not to mention, opponent's gonna be raising a lot. I'm gonna call here. Blocking 1 combo with 5 dudes. Gonna overblock bet here. I think it just makes money. I'm just gonna bluff here. Not having a queen is nice on the river, and having a deuce just doesn't really unblock any of these folds. Probably turn my hand into a bluff at this point. Use as an 8. Oh, it's king jack. It's kind of the weird part though. I mean, I imagine it's probably a call. Kind of misread the action though. So focused on the other hand. Check, check, flop. Turn bets. Okay, fair enough. Gonna be 3-betting this. Gonna finish these waves of hands and end the video. Got this versus the fish. Once I don't have a hand to play, I'll be wrapping up the video here. I've been recording about 30 minutes. I mean, these spots, you can size up here. Blocks a lot of the flushes both of you have. And he's going to have a lot of these like ace-x hands that have 1 club. And I'm just going to play 2 streets. Alright, pretty nice hand. Having good blockers too. Don't mind just betting it multi-way. Could check it, but the issue is one of these guys is a recreational. Under-repping your hand kind of doesn't provide too much value. I feel like a lot of the EV you gain from checking back straight draws on the flop is that no one does it in a single spot, so regs don't really believe you when you turn it into a bluff, but or not when you turn it into a bluff, when you just have it. I will say this guy's a fish, and this guy's a little on the deer. He's a great player. He might be. But how do I say this? I'm not saying he's a nit. I'm saying he is not a spaz reg. It's the best way to put it. Like, I'm not going to assume that this guy's not going to overreact. I'm not saying you won't bluff it. I'm saying he's not going to go crazy. This is the best way I meant to say it. Sometimes the way I talk, I think I can sound like I'm saying something I'm not. Gonna call here, though. When he finds the lead with the 9. I just believe him, though, but we obviously have outs. We're kind of drawing thin versus 9-8 and stuff like this, but... yeah, I don't think I ever turn my... I mean, if it checks twice... thank God. I don't know what this guy's thinking with. I mean, maybe it's just a queen that he just played weird. I think he's playing too many tables, maybe. Because the turn lead in this spot to not have a 9 versus a fish in the pot, it just seems so weird. Because I don't get why you'd lead it. I hate this call, too. You're just blocking like 10-8, 8-7. That the fish might be like playing this way. Also hate the turn lead. Like, why are we leading turn? I don't know. That seems like you're playing a too many tables mistake. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I'm not saying the guy's a bad player, but in fact, I think the inverse. I mean, he's tagged good reg, but that one, I don't know. I can't really get behind the turn lead into multiple people on that board. He must have not realized it was multi-way. That's my read. Let me know what you guys think. I've done that. Everyone's done that. I'm gonna call here though, because he could be like protecting a 7 here in position. I think we're probably the best hand. Yeah. All right, gonna be wrapping up the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.